H1-B visa debate that happened while I was gone for a month between Vivek, Elon, and a lot of Twitter or X, and then also Trump's first week as president for the second time. Thank you guys for being here. God bless you. Dream Rare podcast starts now.
It's the Dream Rare podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? I just realized that I have my camera installed wrong. So if my camera falls at any point in the show, I'm going to be embarrassed. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, Rumble, for being here. I just want to let you guys know, I'll talk about at the end where I've been and what I'm doing and why my wall's white. But until that point, I don't want to bore you with specifics. I want to get into the stories that we're going to talk about. So let's see who's here. I'm going to just check the chats. And then I got to really tunnel vision. Just think about what I'm saying or else I'm going to mess it up. Eddie, we got Georgia in the house. We got Rizzy, Thai Nation. Let's see, Marmar, Benjamin King, Abnormally Goza. Thank you guys for being here. I know it's been a while, so sometimes it's hard to tune back in. I'll talk about what's going on with all that, and I'll definitely be live more. But I do want to talk about Trump's first week, and really I want to talk about the H1-B visa debate that happened while I was gone, because I think it ties into culture, ethnicity, America, the world. It's happening all over. And it's something that there's a disconnect between not just obviously the left and the right, but there's different styles within the conservative movement. And I feel like some people, they don't understand it. And a lot of people do. But then again, you know, everybody's entitled to their own opinion and perspective. So I think there is some nuance to it. I'm going to get started with that. We'll talk about Trump's first week. I think there's been some weird moments, but overall, personally, I think he's doing a good job. And I think that he's a lot better than Biden, obviously, like on every issue, from dealing with foreign leaders to just doing common sense stuff that wasn't being done here. But let me get into this because I think it's something that I'm more inspired to talk about right now. And then I'll get to the Trump stuff, I promise. While I was gone, and for saying I'm gone, just letting you guys know, I've been posting on Facebook. I've been posting on X. So while I've been taking a break from videos, I'm still trying to be a part of the culture and just post. So you can follow me on Facebook or X if you want to see my digital posts, not my like physical videos. I guess it's all digital, but whatever. There was like something super interesting to me and a lot of people, which is Vivek Ramaswamy. He came out and he basically had a long spiel about how, you know, the prom king culture in America and glorifying like the handsome guy and the hot girl is the issue of why Americans don't work as hard and other cultures come here to work more. And it was over the H1-B visa debate with Elon, et cetera. I don't want to oversimplify what it was, but if you really want to go read their exact tweets and how it all went down, because everyone has their own vision of like who started it and whatever. But that's all is what it is. I want to get to the part that I felt like Vivek, Elon, and also a lot of people were missing, because it's super like, I won't say it's hard to explain because I'm going to take a long time to try to explain it. But if you're just focused on illegal and legal immigration, like all illegal immigration is bad, but all legal immigration is okay, you're kind of missing a little bit of a nuance to it. So with the H-1B visas, of course, there's, you know, some smart people that are coming to the country. But if you look at it, there's thousands of jobs that a lot of companies are employing with H-1B visas that are not that high paying. I don't think it takes the most intelligent person in the world, not to say they're stupid people, but we have people in America who can do it. But a lot of these companies, they like to go overseas because when someone's coming here on a visa, it's not necessarily even that they're working harder than Americans, but they need the American visa to even be here. So you basically have your employee more controlled than you would somebody that could go anywhere else. Like someone who comes to America on an H-1B visa, they're a lot more likely to not complain or do anything to oppose it, you know, because they have to. But with that being said, I wanted to get into something. Hold on one second. I just got to make sure my audio thing is on right. There's something with ethnicity and culture and race that a lot of people don't want to talk about because it seems like racist or whatever. And they don't even want to think about it. They're like, oh, legal immigration's good and we want the greatest people from all places. I understand, but let me give you guys an example that I think is pretty simple to follow. When you go to Great Britain, they're saying, I don't know that this is true for the whole state, but I've heard London reports. Let's just say it is true for this, and you can look it up after. They say the #1 baby name is Muhammad in London, right? let's just say they all came illegally, right? Not legal immigrants. And now, because of this mass Muslim or Middle Eastern migration to England, which was a traditionally English white country, now the number one baby name in London is Muhammad. If I told most conservatives that say we're just against illegal immigration, right? That's all we're against. Anybody can come here legally. We're all a melting pot, and this is for the whole world to, enjoy. Sure. What if I told you that all of those people were legal immigrants, whether it was a loophole or not, and now the entire ethnicity and culture and language and traditions of England is now shifting through legal immigration? Would you guys be okay with it? And maybe you would. I'm just saying, like, the Republican movement, the people that are watching Fox News and like Trump, do they want England to be the Middle East, even if it came legally? Most people would say, no, now that I think about it, I don't really care if they came illegally. No disrespect to the rest of the world. I like the Middle East. I like Middle Easterns. I like the culture. I like the food. I think there's a lot of great cities in Saudi Arabia and the UAE that are actually awesome, and they're very safe and clean and nice. So this is no disrespect to anybody of a different ethnicity. It's just the truth is, like, England was always England, and it's okay that people want it to stay that way. And whether it's illegal or legal immigration, the changing of the culture, in many cases, not all, but lack of assimilation, it doesn't really matter how people got there. It's going to change the culture anyway. So if you look at Canada, because when people were debating with Vivek, of course, they brought up Indians a lot because, one, Vivek is Indian, I guess, ethnically, but also, a lot of Indians come on H1-B visas. Let's just look at Canada, right? A lot of people don't follow global politics, so I think a lot of people didn't realize this, but Canada doesn't have a huge problem with illegal immigration. They have a huge problem with legal immigration that their parties decided to bring in. So if you look at Canada, they recently apologized. Justin Trudeau apologized and said, hey, we did this wrong. Like, we got to chill out on legal immigration because we took too many people. If you talk to certain people in certain parts of Canada, Indian people from India are just coming in by like the hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, to the point where it's starting to look like India in certain parts of Canada, and people in Canada don't like it. My personal experience with Indians, I've had a great experience. I grew up in a place that was probably like 10 to 20% Indian, to be honest. Like, my high school, for whatever reason, was just like really Asian and really Indian. And it was cool. I had a cool experience. And it's no disrespect. Like, there's a lot of great people, hardworking people, Americans, etc. But there's just something that nobody really understands when it comes to the H1B. I'm not going to say nobody understands, because a lot of people understand it. There's a huge debate going on. But it's like, yes, of course, we want great people to come from all over the world to go to different parts and be free and work and join the economy and make America great. But the reality is, if you go to Spain, you go to England, you go to France, you go to Japan, there's something that you want when you go there. For the most part, it's like, when I go to Japan, I don't want it to be like half white and half black. Like, I want it to be mostly Japanese. I want to feel like I'm looking at a different culture where they're clean, where they're not as fat. And I don't hate my own people, but it's like, we're fat in America, and like Japanese people are not fat. I'm being self-deprecating to show you that I don't just hate other people, where it's like, there's pros and cons to every culture. Every culture in every country doesn't need to be something else. And then everybody on the left will say it's better that we're doing this. And then the right will be like, I don't see a difference. It's like, well, I do. And so does everybody with a brain. Where it's like, in Japan is screwed if they ever flip their demographics. They need a strong demographic of mostly Japanese people to keep the culture, to keep the language, to keep the food, to keep the style, to keep the neatness, probably to keep the crime rate down. Tokyo, despite having so many people, is incredibly safe. And that's just the truth. And I would never, even though I don't hate myself or other people, I would never wish on Japan, like, hey, why don't you flip the demographics to Japan? Why don't you only have like 30% Japanese people and see how good it is? Like, why would they want to do that? I wouldn't want Saudi Arabia to do that. I wouldn't want Europe to do that. And when it comes to America and Canada, this is what the H1B visa debate missed, because people are like, it's just a melting pot, right? This is just like, immigrants come here and they crush, and it doesn't matter where they come from, just as long as they're American. And it's like, I guess, yeah, you could say that. I understand. But if Canada was, let's just say, because I'm not Canadian, Canada was mostly white and French, right? They speak French a little bit, they're this and that. And then you bring so many people from India that has billions of people that it doesn't even put a dent in India. But now, Canada's half Indian. Some people could say, yeah, this is a better Canada. This is awesome. This is what I want. And other people can say, you know what, I liked it better the other way, but then they'll be called racist, right? So this is the overarching thing that a lot of people, I think, just never thought of, because we have such a bad problem with illegal immigration in America that it's like, of course, illegal immigration makes no sense. There's hundreds of millions of people waiting to come here, probably less than that, but still. And then you got people coming over the border illegally, breaking the rules of our country. It's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer for most conservatives. Like, illegal immigration is not good, and that should be a priority. Even though I'm sure there's some good people, or mostly good people in there too. But this is the truth of everything, where it's like everyone's just like, let's move a company to Texas, and then let's just do 20,000 H1-B visas and just import people from all over the world to Texas because they're smarter than Americans, or because Americans are lazier, or because, this is what America is. It's just a melting pot. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I see that perspective, but at the same time, people have a right to say, no, let's not do that. I watched JD Vance talk to some idiot lady on, I don't know if it was The View or 60 Seconds. I don't even care. It was just a clip on X where she was talking about immigration. And she's like, Americans are all immigrants. And doesn't that mean that we should do? And she's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean we just let anyone in from anywhere. Let me give you an example. If you look at the founding fathers, I'll start with something that is like pretty simple. The founding fathers were all men, they were all men. Of course, they had wives and stuff, but just because the founding fathers of America were all men, does that mean you let any man into America because they were men? No, there's specifics that people are, and some people in the comment section, they're like talking about other stuff. I'm not going to get too distracted. I'm going to turn it off and keep going, but everything's so multi-layered, where certain people are so focused on Trump, either liking or hating him, or, that they're not even getting this aspect of it. It's like, whether Biden or Trump or whoever's in there, this conversation is going to be had. Like, just being a critic of big pharma does not change ethnic culture, nation, immigration trends. Like, there's multiple things happening at once. And I think that some people, they get so egotistical and so caught up in certain aspects of like, well, I oppose big pharma, so everybody's a shill because I talk about that. You're not on my, I'm not trying to turn this into a competition 12 minutes into my first live stream in a month, but like, you're not on my level with what I'm saying now. Like, you don't even understand this. You're not even listening. So there's different levels to everything and different layers to it. Just because you're good at one thing or you're mad on X all day, it's not changing what I'm saying. This is a huge part of what's going on, and it's not in the mainstream conversation because there's so many topics. So, I think when Vivek and Elon started talking about H1-B visas, and they said, we're bringing in the brightest minds, and America's a melting pot, and we're going to bring people in from everywhere, and that's what we're doing, and you're just a racist or a xenophobe, or you're hateful, or shut up, I'm an immigrant, so this is what we're going to do. I'm paraphrasing, but like that whole vibe. And there was so much backlash. People like Sam Hyde made a really great video talking about Elon Musk. I thought it was brilliant, super funny, super weird, but also at the same time, super honest, putting the pieces together that they were missing, where it's like, you look at Tesla, right? Great company. They have thousands of people on H1-B visas. Elon and Vivek and people like that will say, well, Americans are just not doing these jobs. We don't have enough Americans with degrees, which is a lie. We have so many Americans with so many degrees that are being discriminated against for being the same ethnicity that the founding fathers were. Not that it matters, but I'm just saying that's what's going on in America now. People that are qualified are being passed up for like lesbian firefighters so they can do nothing in Los Angeles. And people like that are rising the ranks. These like, gross women. I'm not saying they're gross, but you get it. It's like these like unqualified, egotistical, like lesbian ladies, and not all lesbian, but you get it. I'm trying to be funny. Now I'm just like thinking, is this going to end up on a headline? But it's like, that's the America we live. Like, there's no one qualified to work for Tesla for $60,000 a year. Absolutely, there are Americans that'll do that. But if you look at what they're doing, it's like they know that they can get cheaper labor, not necessarily labor that works harder and is smarter, but if you have a college degree and you are competitive versus if you came from India or somewhere else on an H1-B visa, you don't have the luxury of arguing it all. Like, you get your citizenship through your job, your job is not just a job where it's like, yeah, I could work and I work somewhere else. It's like, if you don't work this job, you're going home. So it's like some people will akin it to slave labor. I don't know that I'd go that far, but a lot of these corporations will pretend to you, people like Elon Musk, God bless the guy, but he'll be like, it's such a great thing that we're doing and it's all the smartest people. Yeah, I know you're an immigrant and I know you want to help other people. And I know there's great and smart people all over the world. But at the same time, when you really look at what H1B visas are doing, it's not just that. It's a lot of people trying to exploit foreign labor because they know that they have leverage over them, that they'll do whatever they say and they have no option to leave or else they have to leave the country. So you'll work a lot harder if you're getting a citizenship attached to it versus just like trying to compete with other job markets. So, Bernie Sanders talked about this a decade ago. Trump used to talk about this. Laura Ingraham had a debate with Trump in like 2019 about this, where she said, you promised that you weren't going to do all these H1B visas. And Trump goes, yeah, but we got all the smart people. And Laura's like, no, they're just replacing American workers. And when you bring other people into the workforce, it then lowers wages just by supply and demand. And Trump was like, no. So long story short, this is kind of what Elon and Vivek stepped into, right? They stepped into this whole debate where I think they thought, well, we're just going to say America's a melting pot. And it's, even though we're not liberal, it's this diverse place where people come all over the world and they could work here and crush. And we need all the crushers from all over the world. That's not really what an H1B visa is. There's other visas for the top percentage of crushers. H1B visa is not that. No disrespect to H1B workers, but this is a bigger conversation that's hard to have because it's like, yes, illegal immigration is wrong and loopholes are wrong, but also the left will say race matters. All that matters is race. White people bad, these people good, help these people, end racism in the end zone, like this and that. Men are bad, women are struggling. Like they have this whole perverted version of like racism and sexism and stuff. So then the right, their counter to that forever has been, well, race doesn't really exist. You say race is everywhere. We don't even notice. We just like people for who they are. It's a beautiful thing on a personal level, on a micro level. That's how I am. I don't care who you are, gender, race. I like good people, right? I have Indian friends. I have Asian friends. I'm not going to Jewish friends, Christian friends. I'm not going to virtue signal to you, but this is genuinely who I am. There's people of certain religions that aren't mine that I trust more than certain people in my religions. Why? Because people are not just cardboard cutouts of their race or religion. Human beings have souls and feelings and, egos and personalities. And so I judge individuals based on who they are, and I don't have a quote unquote racist bone in my body. With that being said, race also doesn't not exist where it's like, if you go to Sweden and everybody's like Mexican, you're not going to notice, oh, it's Sweden. It's not really. If you went to Mexico and everybody was like Asian, like you're not going to notice. Race doesn't exist. Mexico is mostly Mexicans. Like Sweden is mostly Swedish people. Like there are nations, there are races, there are ethnicities, and there are, I would say, patterns that tend to be true when you look at certain things. Like Joe Rogan used to say on his podcast, and I like Joe, but this used to irk me a little bit because he used to be like, I need to leave LA. It's too crowded. It's too crowded. The city sucks. It's falling apart. It's dangerous. I need to go to Austin, Texas because LA is too crowded. It's not the crowd. It's not the crowd. Tokyo is more crowded, but it's safer, but it's cleaner. Why? It's not because race isn't real and culture is not real and there's no such thing as a nation and it's a giant melting pot. It's because this is Japanese culture. They're way neater than I am. They'd probably think I was a filthy slob if I went there, and it would take me a year to assimilate, because even though I think of myself as a very polite person, I don't eat politely in Japanese standards. I probably look like a fat slob compared to them. So it's real. Like there is something different about Japanese people. It doesn't mean I think I'm worse. It's just like they have certain trends. They don't commit a lot of violent crimes when they run their cities. And that's just the way it is. So most nations think this way. Like in the Middle East, in Africa, everybody thinks about race. The left thinks about race. And then the right just says it's not even real. Let's just import everybody from all over the world, from anywhere, and it'll be exactly the same. It doesn't matter if we bring 100,000 people from Asia, Africa, India, Europe, whatever. We'll just bring them to Texas and have them work for Tesla. And it's not going to change the landscape of Texas. It's not going to change the culture, voting pattern. It's just enriching with the smartest people from all over the world. It's like, I guess, but at the same time, it's like, I like Middle Eastern people. I like people named Muhammad. I have friends named Muhammad. I have no disrespect towards Islam, and I have no disrespect towards Muslims or people from anywhere. I think Saudi Arabia, I understand it's not a perfect place, but like I would visit Saudi Arabia because it's safe. I would visit Dubai because it's safe and clean and looks nice. But it's like, I don't want to go to England and have people that left those countries take over. And to be honest, like a lot of Dubai and Saudi Arabia, they wouldn't put up with the shit that London's putting up with. Like they have really strict laws, and London just takes like a bunch of people that like are leaving these countries that they wouldn't even allow. And then they're just like, oh yeah, we don't even notice a difference. I notice a difference, and so does everyone else. I notice that the number one baby name is a Middle Eastern baby name. And I have no disrespect towards Islam. I'm just saying I notice that. You don't? It doesn't matter. Well, it's all about illegal immigration. What if they all came here legally? Do you want England to be that? This fake idea, and it's mostly the left doing it, but it's also the lazy Republicans that don't understand culture and race and ethnicity, where they're like, yeah, like, it's like, it's not happening. Like Asia would never allow it. And, not to play the victim, people in the Western world and in Europe and in America and in Canada, they need to take accountability because it's like weakness built over a century. And there's a way to do it and without seeming racist. Like if you look at Japan and all these countries, does anyone call them racist? No one, they wouldn't even care if you did, but it's like they do it so eloquently. They do it so confidently, and they do it very quietly and like kindly. They're not out here like screaming and making like Facebook pages, just, posting racial memes. It's like, they're just like, this is just what it is. If they have a bunch of like, people trying to come through like illegal immigration or even like refugee, they go out and protest like, nah, we don't want that here. And then it stays that way over time. They are having a birth rate problem because they're not, making enough babies. That's a separate issue because every race, nation, culture, etc., has pros and cons. But at the same time, it's like, we got to be able to talk about it without just calling each other racist. And in America, this is what I have to say too, that I thought of, that it's hard to say, but it's just the truth. If you look at the founding fathers, yes, they were all men, but that doesn't mean you should let all men into the country. What else did they have in common? First of all, I believe most of them, if not all of them, were religious. I'll start with the easier things that won't get me in as much trouble. And I think it was John Adams, but I have to check. One of the founding fathers said, these set of rules are built for a religious and a moral people. They didn't say anyone can come here from anywhere with any morals, with anything, and then it'll work. Or like, let's all just bring in a bunch of atheists. They said religious and moral people. That's what they said. And they meant it. What else did they have in common? They were all, I think at the time, they probably called it like Anglo, but they were all white. And this is not to say this and that, or these people are better. But the reality is, it's like, I wouldn't go to India and be like, oh, all of your culture, people of my ethnicity can do. It's all the same because I could do it too. It's like, but then why didn't people do it hundreds of years ago? And I'm not sitting here taking, like people don't even know what I am. Like someone's like, oh, of course you want the Muslims there. You're Middle Eastern. I'm actually not Middle Eastern, but I don't give a shit what people think. I'm definitely multiracial. I'm mostly European, but I'm part Puerto Rican. So that's where the flavor comes from, where nobody knows what I am. Some people think I'm Jewish. Some people think I'm Greek. Some people think I'm Arab. It is what it is. I don't really care. I don't have like shame for my ancestors, but in general, it's like, you look at that sort of stuff and it's like, people are like, well, this is for everyone and all. It's like, imagine if I went to Japan and I was like, all of your culture, the clean culture, white people can do that, or black people could do that, or Indians could do. Like, it's like, maybe I'm not, I'm not knocking other people. There's great things from every nation, but the audacity that some people have, where it's like, none of this matters. It's like, I'm sure if a bunch of like lesbian, firefighting feminists ran the country in 1776, we probably wouldn't have a country. Like, it probably mattered that they were all men. Their religion probably played a part. I know it played a part in it because I read books. And then also like ethnicity. No, every other ethnicity does things, but when it comes to one ethnicity, everything's bad and nothing matters. It's like, yeah, let me go to Greece and be like, yeah, Greek doesn't matter. Like we could have came up with this, my people. It's like, maybe, but that's not real history. That's the same thing as saying like Cleopatra is a transgendered lesbian from Pluto. Like, the Hollywood stuff. It's the same thing Republicans don't even realize they're doing with our, ancestry and culture, because they're like so oblivious of it, where it's like, it's all just a melting pot. Now it is, but if you do your research in history and look at the Hart-Celler Act, they were only doing immigration from certain parts of the world for most of American history. The Hart-Celler Act, I believe, if you look it up, that's when immigration started just coming from everywhere. So this idea of America being a melting pot, over the last 50 years, it's absolutely true. But in the first couple hundred years, it's absolutely not true. You know, they were being very specific and particular about where they brought people in and where they didn't. And, you know, you could have debates about this and that, or you think it's better, you think it's worse. But what I'm doing is I'm bringing it all to the table because I don't give a shit. And I'm just being really honest about it, where it's like, in order to get to the root of what's better or what's worse, we need to be able to talk about it. But most people don't even know their history because they just listen to talking heads that are Republican or Democrat. When I started really learning, I started buying books. I started reading, not just books from Dinesh D'Souza. No disrespect to Dinesh. I like the guy. He's got a great family. I'm just saying, it's like I went to the source to be like, what really happened? Let me read the real words of these people and these people and these people and this leader and that leader to figure out what happened. And when you start piecing it together, you realize everything that we were fed is a lie, like literally everything. One book that I read because of G. Edward Griffin, I've talked about it years ago. I used to talk about it a lot because it's really eye-opening. It's called Color, Communism, and Common Sense by Manning Johnson. He was a black communist in the 1950s, 40s, who left the Communist Party and came back to Christianity and then wrote a book about it. And the same tactics that they were doing now, they did then. They said, if you were white and you disagreed with what the leftists were doing, they called you KKK or they called you a fascist. And if you were black, they called you an Uncle Tom. This is not a new phenomenon. We think it is. It's been happening for 100 years. He also talked about integration and segregation. And one thing that they don't teach you is that not just white people, but also black people owned things to themselves. They had taxi businesses, they had schools. And when they made integration, or rather integration was always legal, they made segregation illegal. Black businesses went out of business because now your black school with all black teachers and all black students, it wasn't allowed anymore. And this is all in the book, Color, Communism, and Common Sense. He was like, this is not what everyone's making of it. Like, of course, you learn in the schools, Martin Luther King, everything got better. Go to Little Rock now. It's not even a safe city. So I'm not saying it was better then. I'm just saying in general, it's like all these things of like, oh, it just got so great. Then why does every city in America suck? Like we got the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, yet it's a super high crime, dirty area now. It's like, this is awesome. I'm just saying I went back and read, and it's like you hear different perspectives. If you heard a white guy say, oh, it's better this and then, you just call him a racist. What if you heard a black guy who said, my friend's businesses went out of business when they passed these MLK type rules, you know, or even before that, I'm sure they were doing a few things here or there. It's like these are all eye-opening things where when you just regurgitate what other people tell you in the present moment, you end up just like, you know, I don't want to get into specifics, but when it came to like MAGA, a lot of times people would act like I was this huge, like, oh, you just like to argue with people. I really don't. Personally, outside of politics, outside of podcasting, I like to get along with people. I also don't accept any bullshit. But in general, it's like, I'm not trying to argue. I'm just not a follower. So if everyone goes this way, but the truth is here, I'm going to stand here. And so many times, of course, on the left, their whole life is a lie. But even in MAGA, like a few influencers would say something. It doesn't make any sense. But then a few more would say it, and a few more would say it. You get to the top 50 influencers in news. Now everybody thinks it because they don't actually read or deep dive. They just listen to what other people are saying in the present moment. So it's like, when you dive into history, you realize these slogans, it's like, it's a melting pot now, but not for the first couple hundred years. It wasn't a melting pot. The Hart-Celler Act, you know, it's just like, oh, it doesn't matter this and that. I mean, sure, I guess, but like, you know, if you really get down to certain things, like people want people in America to assimilate. Like, I'll give you two examples from where I grew up. And different people of how they acted. Like I said, I grew up in an area that was very white, but also was very Asian and very Indian. Like I had a lot of Indians, a lot of Asians at my high school for whatever reason. Everybody was cool, but it's like not all, because I had a lot of Asian friends, but like a lot of the Asian kids, like they kind of kept to themselves because, you know, some of them just moved here. They didn't speak the language that well, but naturally people just kind of go with their own people. I was friends with a lot of the Indians and they were super cool and they were super chill. But it's like in the gas stations and 7-Elevens where I grew up, they're all owned by Sikhs with the turbans. In my adult life, I've met a few Sikhs and they're some of the coolest, nicest people. Where I grew up, they never talked to anybody and they look pissed off all the time at the gas station. it's like when you're from a different country, we're all from somewhere, but it's like when you're not assimilating, when you're not trying to speak the language, when you're not trying to fit in, and you're just mean mugging and pissed off all the time, it's a totally different vibe than my Indian friends at school that we had all the same hobbies and we kicked it and we played tennis and Super Smash Bros. That's a lot different than some guy pumping your gas looking pissed off at you the whole time, and they're not even trying to learn the language. So it's like at a certain point, I heard in Japan that a lot of the locals, they don't like tourism. Like, yeah, they like the money and stuff, but there's certain restaurants that they say, speak Japanese or we won't let you in. I don't feel like they're being racist against me. That's their protection against losing their culture. They don't want 50% outsiders to the point where nobody speaks the language, nobody's trying to fit in, and now they have to shift their entire identity in order to cater to people who just got there. It doesn't make Japanese people racist. That's just the thing. Like, if you're Indian, you could want more Indian people to come to America. You could not want that. You could want it to stay more like the America that you grew up in. I don't give a shit, but like both options make sense to me. Like, if you're Muslim and your name's Muhammad, you probably want more Muhammads in London, but at the same time, you might not. You might want London to be more like it was when you grew up. I don't know, but both options are valid for your personal beliefs. But in America, there's one group of people that's constantly told that they can't have an opinion that everything's worse. They have to have the opinion that everything's better. No matter how many people come on visas or this or that, legal, illegal immigration, whatever, the melting pot, blah, blah, blah. It's all getting better. It's all getting better, except objectively, and I'm not saying it's immigrants' fault because it's way deeper than that, and I don't think it is, but like, this country is actually not getting better. Nobody gives a shit anymore, and that has to do with culture and self-love, and I think it overlaps with what I'm talking about. I don't think they're completely separate ideas, but it's like when I grew up, there was some sort of customer service. People gave a shit. Now, what does everybody want to do? Everybody wants to build the cheapest thing for the cheapest amount to make the most money. They don't care about you. You talk to the customer service team and they're psychologically abusing you purposely, trying to get you to quit so that you don't get your money back. It's like everything in this country is a scam. And I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it because if I'm checking my clock, it's I don't give a shit o'clock. But it's like when Vivek came out and he's like, blah, blah, blah. Then Patrick David came to his defense and was like, I'm an immigrant and so many immigrants make a lot of money. I get it. And God bless Patrick. I'd love to be invited on the show one time. I have a man-to-man conversation about all this stuff because I find him a fascinating person and I know him and we've talked on the phone, etc. But in general, it's like he came to this country and then did an MLM insurance, basically like pyramid scheme to some extent, where it's like, yeah, that's great that you made money, but like, do I think America, like without that, like, would we have been suffering so bad? It's like, oh yeah, America would have sucked without that. I'm sure we would have been fine. Somebody else would have done some sort of MLM pyramid, insurance thing. It's not like this country's like really needs that really bad. And then like with Vivek Ramaswamy, it's like, yeah, of course how did he make his money? Did he innovate? Did he do something so brilliant and so amazing that we all use it in our houses? Like, thank God for this guy. And he's not even an immigrant. He was born here. But I'm just saying, it's like, look how he made his money. I don't want to really get into specifics of it, but look at the stock that went up, and it was like an IPO record in whatever it was, bio. Well, I forget the exact category, but it was like it broke records for like the best like presenting IPO at the first, and then it dropped to under $1. And it's like, you look into it, he had his mom doing studies with a drug that he bought from another company that failed, that he went on Mad Money with Jim Cramer telling everybody. It's like, oh yeah, what cultural enrichment that is. Thank God you did you made $1 billion off a failed drug or whatever. You made millions of dollars. Like, oh wow, yeah, that makes it. And it's not their fault because Americans are doing it to each other and white people are doing it too. It's not like they're the only ones doing these things, but that's my whole issue in this country. Like, I'm not one of these like Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, like F-boy bros where you're like, oh, just make money at all costs. No, you're a fucking loser. Excuse my language, but it's like, it's not cool to scam your own people for money. Like, oh, I could feed them organic chicken and heal the people of my neighborhood, or I could feed them shit on a stick and make $1 billion. Feeding people shit on a stick doesn't make you a good person. It's not impressive. It's not interesting. And then all these people make money from all these scammy things. And then they come into politics, get a microphone and think that they're Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, and they're so much better than me. It's like, you're not better than me. You just made a lot of money doing something I would never morally be able to do. And then you use it to insert yourself into media or politics and role play Tony Robbins or Donald Trump. And I'm sorry, but it's like, I don't find that interesting. So I found the H1-B visa debate so fascinating because it created a rift where like all the biggest grifters came out to be like, yeah, I get it. Sure, I also get it. I know there's a lot of great people coming to the country, but what I said, how often do you hear what I said? Sam Hyde did a funny version of what I'm saying, basically, because I've never met the guy or even listened to him talk, but listening to what he said, like, we both understand things that like these people don't understand. We both have an angle. It's like, why is this not on Fox News? Why is this not on the podcast? Why is it always like these basic debates about Donald Trump where it's like, oh, Trump, good, Democrats, bad. Yeah, we did that in 2018. You're not bringing anything new to the culture. You're just capitalizing on the culture that we created. And it's not me, like I own it. And then Vivek, it's like, and now everybody's coming to me like, you were so right. You were so right. I'm not out here trying to be right. I mean, obviously I am. I'm not trying to be wrong, but it's like, I'm not wishing on Vivek's downfall. God bless the guy. And I hope he does well for himself. But it's like, I could see right through these people. When you come out and like, I talk like this, and people are like, he's such a good speaker. No, he's not. You look at him in college. He's got the valedictorian speech. I'm talking like a duck. It's like, that's not a good speech. That's somebody that's being fake. They've literally like programmed, how do I act like there's no soul to it. There's no spirit. It's so rigid. It's so jagged. It's not real. I picked up on that the first day. Wow. I could write in Chat GPT, give me 10 things that Trump supporters want to hear. There's only 2 genders. The science is science. Like it's like the little slogans that the Democrats put outside their house. People are like, dude, he's saying all the things that I'm saying. Awesome. 5 seconds on AI can get you that. But I'm not here to talk about all that. I'm just here to say, and respectfully, although it may not seem that way, there's conversations and things that have been going on within Republican politics that the people at the top that were there even before Vivek and Patrick showed up, that have been gatekeeping and blacklisting this conversation from reaching the forefront by tying it to people that people don't like, or saying, well, if you think this way, then you're that. Like I mentioned one thing, it's like with Israel-Palestine. People don't even know what I think about Israel and Palestine. If you could watch all my videos and I'll tell you exactly what I think, but it's like, people are like, if you're not in box number 1, you must be in box number 2. You must be Muslim and want Ireland to get invaded. I want Ireland to be Ireland. I respect Middle Easterners, but I don't want Ireland to be like Dubai. I want Dubai to be Dubai and Saudi Arabia to be Saudi Arabia. And then, Ireland could be Irish, but also people can come, but not flip the demographics to make it another country. But in general, it's like people don't even know what I think because they're so used to this weird TV programming fake culture battle where it's like, if you're not left, you're right. If you don't support everything that Israel does and call everybody Hamas, then you must be Palestine. You must be this. You must be that. And nobody knows what we're thinking, but that's by design. And I'm not blaming anyone in specific, because if you run a media company or you're a podcaster, you're allowed to have who you want on, right? It's your right. And then it's people's right to listen to it or not. But I could see why nobody knows everything on our side. Not anything. There's a lot of great stuff going on, and I'll talk about it later. But it's like, I know why a lot of people can't grasp these concepts, because they're listening to people that don't have these conversations, and they have on people saying either the opposite or some like dumbed down version of the debate. But this is why the H1-B visa debate was so heated. It's not because everybody's mean and racist and hateful, but it's like all the things that I talked about that nobody ever talks about. And when you go to certain parts, like for example, with Texas, right? I'm not from Texas, but do I want Texas to look like a foreign country? No, I want it to look like Texas. I don't even want people to sound like me. I want them to have Southern draws. And I like country music. I like 80s and 90s country music mostly. Like personally, I like Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, that era of like that's my favorite country. But it's like, I don't want to go to state. Everything doesn't need to be exactly the same, and everything doesn't need to feel like a foreign country. Like when I go into I don't mind seeing people talking other languages. That's normal. But it's like when you go certain places and like nobody gives a shit about anybody all the time and everybody's just doing their own thing, that's not assimilation. And this is not the fault of immigrants, because Americans are scamming Americans and white people are scamming and Christians are scamming too. But it's like this country's pissing me off because everything is a scam now. Like the reason I have a different backdrop, I moved. Okay. I have a lot of issues that I'm dealing with, not like personally, but like I'm trying to build a studio and I'm having some sound issues. That's why it's taking me so long. But in general, also I've taken a break to like buy furniture and, like focus on my actual life. But in general, like everything's such a scam all the time. And I'm so tired of it. Insurance is a huge scam. I tried to cancel my gym membership where I was, and they were like, well, you got to give us a 3-month warning. And I'm like, I emailed you 2 months ago. And they were like, yeah, but we didn't finish it. I'm like, because you didn't answer. And they were like, well, you got to start over. I'm like, you're not charging my account. And they're like, oh, I called the guy the R word. It starts with R and ends with etarded. And he goes, oh my gosh, you're being ableist. Oh my gosh, I'm hanging up the phone. And this is like a high level guy. It's some guy with a list being like, oh my gosh, you're ableist. I'm not making fun of people that are mentally challenged. I'm calling you the R word because that word means something. It doesn't mean making fun of somebody in a wheelchair. It's a dictionary word. And it's like, I live in a stupid world where I could get banned from social media for saying a word that's in the dictionary that means to slow down over time. Like it's not a personal insult to other people. I'm talking to you. That word means something in the dictionary, and I'm smart enough to know what the word means, and you're too dumb to know. You think it's a slur only. It's stupid. It's like I can't use the word the because somebody used the word the one time in a mean sentence. Like, go F yourself. But in general, it's like everything's a scam. Insurance is a scam. Leaving a gym is a scam. Everybody's building properties now. It's like, how cheap can we do it? What's the cheapest we could possibly build it? Look at ancient stuff from hundreds of years ago. They didn't need to build these beautiful buildings. They did it because art is beautiful. They're glorifying God. They're glorifying their nation. They're proud of something. Do something great. You know, all the food's cheap. It has shitty seed oils in it. That's why people like RFK. And it's like, oh, who cares? It's like, who cares? Look around you. Look, this is not normal. Like, people are like, oh, it's better now. It's really not. Health wise, you go back 50 years ago, all the guys had 6-pack abs and they were jacked, and now everybody's fat. And everybody's fat. It's not just because everybody used to work out more. It's because we're being fed poison because a bunch of scumbags, who cares what race they are, where they're from, Christians, white people, this, that. It's everybody scamming everybody for a fucking dollar. Oh, that's the American way. That's capitalism. It's for moral and religious people. If you're religious, but you're not moral, you're not fitting the code that John Adams wrote about. You got to be moral. You have to have pride. I don't get into personal stuff, but I like to sports gamble. Personally, I like to. I would never sell sports gambling to my audience because I know that it's not a good habit and people could get carried away and lose a lot. So it's like, even if DraftKings or FanDuel or one of these major sports betting companies gave me $10 million. And they said, Anomaly, you have a big channel. Here's $100 million for this massive deal because we have so much money because people are losing so much money. I wouldn't take it. I would rather be broke than sell gambling to people, even though personally I enjoy it. That's called morality. Somebody texted me the other day and you're like, you're one of the only influencers that barely sells ads. And when you do, it's something you believe in. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I'm selling shit that I don't even like to somebody else. How could I do that? How does everybody do this in this country? Let's build a new complex and let's build a new house and make everything as cheap and shitty as possible in order to make the most money. Fuck you. Like, do you have no care for the people that are staying there? And this is a profoundly and fundamentally problem with our country, is everybody scamming everybody all the time. And that's not, oh, well, it's capitalism. No, it's immoral capitalism, which is evil. It's just as evil as communism. It just might stay afloat better because communism consolidates power and then you're fucked. But in general, you're not a good person. And that's why so many leftists hate you. And it's like, but we're making money though. I get why the leftist kids hate you. They're just not smart enough yet to realize that they're wrong about stuff. But it's like, this is the country we live in. So that debate, if you could tell by my passion, it sparked the whole thing about this when you got a bunch of people like, wow, you did a pharmaceutical, some people would call it a pump and dump. I won't, but it's like it definitely came across bizarre. It's like, I have money now and I'm going to tell you that you're lazy and that other people, because of, the prom king and the prom king culture. Bro, go back to a different culture if you don't like the prom king culture. Not all prom kings are stupid. Sometimes the prom king is also a valedictorian. Sometimes the prom king has, goes on to be like a scientist. It's not like they're all idiot jocks or something. Not a lot of athletes are intelligent. And a lot are stupid, to be honest. So it's like, just like with everything else. But it's like, it cut to the core of everything wrong with America without people realizing it. And I think that, the left will say race matters, but they talk about it all wrong. The right say we don't notice anything, which is also, in my opinion, wrong. Because it's like, you're telling me that if you went to Sweden and everybody was half Mexican and half Indian and there were no white people there, you'd be like, I don't see a difference. Sweden, it's a melting pot. It's like, I get America is more of an experiment. But like I said, if you do the research, it was only like 50 years that they've been like, whatever. And then it's like a slippery slope where it goes from like, we'll just take immigration from everywhere. Okay, we'll just, accept loophole visas. Okay. We'll just take more. Okay. We'll just open the borders. It's like, all right, slow down, dude. Like that, you're going a little bit too far. Like that. It's like, okay, you're taking immigration from everywhere. That makes a little bit more sense than like what you're doing now, but it's all a slippery slope. It's the same thing with all of these Christian beliefs where people are like, it doesn't matter. It's freedom. People don't understand the difference between freedom and discipline, right? I'm free every day because I built a job and a career for myself. I'm free to do pretty much whatever I want every day because I've worked really hard in my 20s and 30s to accumulate enough to pay rent at this point. It doesn't mean I do everything all the time and like everybody should glorify it. Like if I just sit there on the couch eating Cheetos every day and I'm like, I'm free, I could do whatever I want. Without discipline, freedom is hell. I know I work from home. Part of the reason I moved, a lot of reasons, tax reasons, etc. But like, I'm too free where it's like I need to establish a better routine for myself, or else I'm just wasting away. Like family, friends, like these are things that make life worth it. Sports for some people, you know what I'm saying? Community. If you're just free and doing whatever, it's like freedom is great, but also discipline is better. Like having discipline, like every UFC athlete's free to do whatever they want, but it's their discipline that makes them great. If they had all freedom and no discipline, it doesn't matter. It's the same with this country. It's like, yeah, we're free to, we have the First Amendment right to speak, but then like some lawyers came and they're like, well, technically the First Amendment is freedom to pornography. It's like, how is pornography free speech? Have you ever looked into the history of pornography? Don't, because they'll just call you anti-Semitic because there's a pattern there. And the guy who, Al Goldstein, go to his Wikipedia page and see what he said about white people and Christians. Really nice stuff. But anyway, it's like in general, it's like, how is pornography free speech? It's not even speech. It's physical thing. But, I'm not out here pointing fingers. I'm just saying it's like this breakdown of go back to the founding fathers. Who were they? What did they write? Who was it for? Was it, for anybody of any morality to just, no, religious and moral people. You break that foundation, the whole country breaks down over time. So, and people have a right. This is controversial, but it's just true. People have a right to say that things are getting worse when you say they're getting better. People have a right to understand how demographics work. People have a right. Like, I'm not Canadian, but it's like if Canada's mostly French and white, and then in 100 years it's not, it's going to be a different country. Some people could say it's better, it's more diverse, it's healing. And other people could be like, you know what? I don't like it. The crime rate's up. Nobody speaks my language, and it was better 100 years ago. Things were built better. Everyone has a right to have an opinion, but these conversations are not really even had that much because, like, I don't know, a lot of people are not there. So with the next topic, I could talk about this all the time, but with the next topic, and for those wondering on the pro-Trump side or the anti-Trump side, I'm kind of viewing the culture as more important than politics right now, personally, because it's like Trump's going to do what he's going to do. JD Vance, the Republican Party, people like Marco Rubio, they have an agenda that has been inset, especially when it comes in terms of Zionism. They've had an agenda for 50 years in this country, and it's really determined a lot of the things happening that most people don't realize. But in general, I'm not saying to not disagree with it or whatever, but it's like, I believe, at least for myself, when the culture shifts in the right direction, politicians start moving. Like, let's just take some things with Trump for an example. I'll get to some of the things that I don't like, but like, let's just say like Trump in 2016. He was so concerned what the media was saying because a lot of the country was still left. A lot of the Republicans were, still like holdovers from like Mitt Romney. He's like, oh my gosh, and he was new, but also like, in my opinion, I think he failed his first term. A lot of Trump supporters won't want to hear that, but I don't think he did a good job. I'm glad he has 4 years now to prove himself, because I think if he didn't win this time, his legacy is really not what people think it is. They wanted it to be because he says all the right things, but combined with the lockdown, the COVID money printing, and Operation Warp Speed, I think he failed. But in general, it's like, now you go 4 years in advance. Look how far the culture shifted. Now every podcaster sounds like a Trump supporter 4 years ago. Andrew Schultz is not afraid. Stephen A. Cringe, Stephen A. Cringe is like, I regret voting for Kamala. Bro, you voted for Kamala like 60 days ago. You don't regret voting for Kamala. You regret the fact that you didn't realize that the culture was shifting and now the money's shifting towards conservatism. So you want the money. He's a corporate sellout loser. He's got a cool voice, but it's like, he's not sorry. He just realizes so That's the culture shift. Now all the companies are getting away from DEI. Why? Because the culture shifted. They lost the presidency, they lost the Senate, they lost the House, and they lost the popular vote. And what people don't realize about Democrats and Republicans in the uniparty is although there's some profoundly stupid people like AOC that are there and Nancy Pelosi, they're not like rocket scientists. There are smart people somewhere behind them that use AI and data to see where the country's going. So if they think they can get away with it, they will. COVID-19 was the perfect example of this. What can we get away with? Oh, people are this stupid. And I think about that every time I think about anything going on where I'm like, why is nobody pushing back against this or complaining? It's like, dude, they covered your mouth with a freaking dirty, smelly, it was like wet mask. And I can't even hear anything. Everybody sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher. And people are like, I guess I'll just do that. I look like a psychopath during COVID. I'm yelling in the middle of like a freaking, Gelson's. I'm like, is anybody alive? Like, are we in the Truman Show? Why are you all doing? Like, I literally was talking to people, trying to like snap people out of it. They're like, you go, man. I wish I had your balls. Why don't you? You're older than me. What? Like, you're just like, it's like, if most people will do that, how are we going to build great buildings and demand greatness in this country if our country's so pathetic that 90% of people are like, dude, I can't hear you. No, this is okay, man. I mean, I'm a Republican. I voted for Trump, but I mean, I guess it's like, dude, it's a numbers game. If everybody rejected it, that's why I was so mad about the vaccine stuff, where people are like, I'm getting it and I get to go to Disneyland. I'm on your side, but I'm going to go use my vaccine passport. Then you're not on my side. I appreciate you, and I'm not trying to hate on you, but it's like if 90% of the country does that and I'm one of the only ones not doing it, now I'm a slave in this country and I can't do anything. So it's like you're really not with me. But it's the same thing with the election. The culture speaks. So despite what people think about Trump and his downfalls and the uniparty and his donors, which is all very valid if you get into it, culture speaks. When it goes one way, things change. Like, I understand that everything's not going to change. You're not going to get the foreign policy you want right now exactly. And I'm not saying you will, but this is where I have a disconnect, and it puts me on an island that I don't even want to be on, where it's like you got people that really, really like Trump and they don't want to hear anything bad about it. Like I posted that he gave Fauci an award for Operation Warp Speed, which he did. And some lady's like, oh, that's got to be fake. It's real. You just want it to be fake because it destroys your whole illusion of what you think it is. But no, that's real. But I'm not even... I like what Trump's doing this time for the most part, but in general, it's like you got people like that. And then on the other side, you got people that just hate him and everything. Like, oh, it's like, you're not that smart. Your ego is bigger than your brain. What I'm talking about with culture and ethnicity and nation, it's way higher level than you're able to do. So shut up and listen, or move on and listen to somebody you want to hear. Just because you think you're angrier about vaccines than I am, it doesn't make you a smarter or better person than me. I'm juggling 5 ideas and nailing them all, and you have one that you're just extra mad about. Read a book on like Taoism or something and calm down. You'll be a better person at the end of the day, and you'll be smarter. But in general, it's like this is the world we live in, where there's different things that are happening, and people that focus on either the positive or negative, they don't want to give Trump credit. Are you telling me, like, I'm not someone that ignores all the things I just talked about for 40 minutes. I notice all that, and it matters. So Trump doing what he's doing with illegal immigration, that's going to have a huge compounding difference on our country over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Yeah, he might screw some stuff up or sell out a little bit, but I'm just being objective. That makes a difference. That's why I voted for Donald Trump. If RFK gets confirmed and RFK is allowed to change the HHS, that's going to fix the nutrition in our country and the culture for the next couple of decades. It's not going to solve every issue of all time, but like that matters. That's why I voted for Trump. Things can matter, but you could also be upset at certain things. But in general, it's like, I believe personally, this is why I'm not getting that upset anymore. There's always 2 options in this world, especially with politics. Can you do something about it? Then do it. Can you say something about it? Then say it. But getting extra mad doesn't make things happen faster. It just makes people want to not listen to you more. And I've made that mistake myself as well. Like sometimes you isolate yourself because you're just so pissed off. And then like 5 weeks later, you're like, I need to take a break from Twitter. I'm losing my mind. But in general, it's like, there's different things happening, but I guess I don't like, I'll give you an example with Vivek Ramaswamy. I never trusted Vivek Ramaswamy. I knew I was right about certain things, But did I sit and harp on it all the time and say, if you like Vivek Ramaswamy, you're a shill? No, I had friends that liked Vivek Ramaswamy that had him on the show. I had him on the show. I never once was like, you can't like him, blah, blah, blah. Like, who do you think you are to tell other people? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I said what I believe to be true. I interviewed him. I pushed back. And now, because I was, in my opinion, right, the clips that I made that a lot of people liked, but a lot of people didn't understand, they went more viral a week ago because the truth is relevant forever. So I didn't sit and freak out at everybody who disagreed with me on Vivek. I'm just like, I wish the guy the best. I always try to treat others the way I want to be treated. I hope he gets some sort of position. I think governor of Ohio is perfect. It's a governor of a state that I don't live in. He doesn't have any national, ramifications of that. I wish him luck. But at the same time, it's like, I didn't have to sit and nag at everybody. I said what I believed to people that wanted to listen. I said what I wanted to say publicly, but I didn't harp and nag on it every 2 seconds, because it's just like, if I'm right, people will figure it out. And now I post those same clips and now they get 1.7 million views, even though they're a year old. Because what I said a year ago was ahead of where people are now. So if you perceive that you're ahead of me or ahead of others, me, no, others maybe, but I'm just kidding. But seriously, it's like, what if people think they're like, I'm mad now? That's not changing everything. If you could change the culture and if you could shift the population, numbers talk. If you think that Trump's not doing this and that, then your goal over the next couple of years is, one, don't just bitch at everybody else. Talk to Trump, or at least like put it out there where you're like an actual resistance against what he's doing if you think it's negative. But then also you want to accumulate people. Like, I had people that I was friends to and I was loyal with for years literally burn a bridge with me. I'll never forget what they said. I'll never forget what they did, because I voted for Trump. I never said he was perfect. I said strategically it makes sense. I'm voting for him, and then I hope people hold him accountable. The way people now you're burning a bridge with me, somebody who's been like, half these people just showed up in 2021. I've been there doing reports about Trump that were not just positive since 2018 and 2019, doing good journalism. And you're going to burn a bridge with me? How are you going to make a coalition when you're burning a bridge with someone who agrees with you at 80%? I just don't like you. And that's another thing that doesn't have to do with this video, but it's like, there's people that have my politics that you talk to for 10 minutes and you're like, this person sucks. They're inconsiderate. They don't listen. They're just talking to your face, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, do you think that people have to like you because you like the politician they like or you dislike? Like, I could go to a rally, and I'm a very sensitive person. Like, I definitely can feel, and I'm very considerate. So when people are inconsiderate, it really like annoys me, because I'm like ultra, like I always try to be respectful to other people. And when people aren't, it makes me mad. But in general, it's like, I could talk to 10 different people. And of course, like, I like people that I agree with, but some people that I agree with are just weird and annoying. And it's like, that's another aspect of all this. Like, just because we share opinions, it doesn't mean like I'm right. I'm right. It's like, you could just be a piece of shit person too with good opinions, and you're just annoying. Like, do you have no self-awareness of like, I'm just gonna be mad and treat you like shit because you voted for Trump? Guys, I have friends that didn't vote, like, that I'm like, I get it, I voted, but I'm not gonna hate you for not voting. Like, I get my vote. I'm a taxpayer. You're a taxpayer. You get, if you're not, if Trump wasn't pro-life enough for you, then you have the right to not vote. I'm not going to bitch at you for that. But like, people do that stuff, and then they're like, how are you helping? You're isolating some of the most honest people that are on your side because of a little nitpicky thing that you're not even really right about. And then I'll talk about this, and some people will be in the comments like, it's like, you're talking about something else when I'm putting on a masterclass about a topic that most people don't understand. Like, I don't, what's going on? So with that being said, I mean, I think that Trump he's leading way better. Like, if you look at Biden and Trump, I'm going to start with the positives. First of all, Trump's immigration policy does make a difference. I know people that are at the border, people like Jorge Ventura, Bill Malugin. I've never talked to him, but I follow him on Twitter. Seems like a really genuine guy who works for Fox, I think. Like, there is a difference between border Biden and border Trump. The policy shift, the immigration shifts, like that to me, people that don't care about nation or culture, they only care about like pharmaceuticals. I care about pharmaceuticals too, but like, I also care about that. I could double task. This makes a difference to me. Like, I think compounding this makes a huge difference. It's way better on immigration, right? I would say dealing with foreign leaders. When Biden's in office, no one cares. No one cares. Trump makes moves against foreign leaders like quickly. It's just like it's all public. It's all transparent. With Biden, they're doing similar stuff, but it's behind the scenes. No one respects him. With Trump, he's the ultimate blessing, even if you are an activist. Now it's all public. Now everybody cares about it. Now you can see the interactions on X. Now your word means something because you can put it into the culture and start shifting opinions. With Biden, it's all in the dark. Democracy dies in darkness, as they say. It doesn't matter. So it's like Trump, he's superior to Joe Biden on every single level. Is he going to do some sneaky stuff? Absolutely. Hopefully people pay attention, though, because the name of the game is to get enough people to figure out what you're talking about, and then things can shift. Like, I'm already thinking now, like, Trump's doing what he needs to do for the moment. I'm thinking about like 4 years from now. Is the culture going to shift in the right direction even more? Or are we going to fumble the bag and it's going to like go back because they do a bad job? So I'm focused on that. Yes, I'm still going to, try to hold politicians accountable and talk about it. But it's like, I've done this since 2016. I'm older now. I'm wiser. I'm definitely, I understand what I can and can't do, and I'm focused on having maximum impact. So me bitching about the same topic 100 times in a row doesn't really move the needle. Me not having patience doesn't move the needle. So many things that I thought nobody thought about became a mainstream topic in 3 years, and it became a mainstream topic in 3 years from everybody putting the groundwork. So any Trump supporter that liked Trump from 2016, somebody that was pro-life then, somebody that opposed Democrat things since 2017, 2018. You're the reason that Andrew Schultz is now more conservative. You're the reason that everyone feels comfortable talking about it. You're the reason that Bezos and Zuckerberg are playing this game. I'm not asking people to believe them, and I'm not asking people to trust them, but they're not to be trusted. But culture shifts and they shift. Do you understand what I'm saying? They would have kept DEI programs for 30 years if this country was still liberal. But when the data comes in that most people don't want that, the culture shifts in the right direction. And it's a nice thing. Elon, I always enjoyed, but I always told people on my show, I don't trust him. I like him. Now I'm a little iffy on him because I don't like how he handled the H1-B thing. But in general, it's like there's a difference between, I like what he's saying. I think he's funny. I'm grateful that he's sharing a lot of this information to shift the culture. I'm glad that he's doing these things. But it's like I never trusted him. And I'd always tell people that I don't. And this is why I have trust issues, because you shouldn't trust a politician. It's like dating it's like you date 5 strippers and they all, turn out to be bad. You're like, well, this 6th one's going to be better. It's like, no, I get it, but at the same time, I'm trying to harness good energy because it's like, I got to be able to do what I'm doing and push it in the right direction. I can't just sit and bitch all the time. I don't want to be like a professional, that's what I got in this to not do. I hated watching Fox News or CNN. I hated the energy. I hated the style. There's some podcasters I like. There's some podcasters I don't for different reasons, but it's like, that's who I am. So I think Trump overall, I think it's going really well, but there's going to be things that the Uniparty is going to do and his donors are going to do, like the AI program. Probably people are wondering what I think about that. We'll see. I mean, I haven't fully looked into it, where they're getting $500 billion and it's going to Sam Altman, who's super creepy, and Larry Ellison, who's also creepy and weird. It's like, I guess the thought of it is like they want to beat China. Now there's this new Chinese thing that's, crashing the stock market. I get it, but at the same time, I don't trust these people. When it comes to AI vaccines, AI is only as smart as you program it. For example, if you program AI to say that vaccines don't have side effects, then the AI says vaccines don't have side effects. If you program it to say vaccines do have side effects and that's the truth, then, your AI medicine is going to come out a lot different. So it's like, I don't trust the people. AI is a great tool, but I don't trust the people in charge to combine AI with medicine, because you got to tell the truth in order to get the AI to work better. Like, you got to give it the most honest data. You can't do what Pfizer and the government does, which is like gaslight everybody and act like, it needs liability shields and mandates. Like, that's crazy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Definitely people just need to pay attention and not fall for another scam. But, at the end of the day, it's like, people need to want better, and then we'll get better. As I talked about earlier, the fact that people don't build things beautiful anymore, the fact that everybody's just scamming everybody, from insurance to building houses to like gym memberships. Like everybody's just trying to scam, hide behind a team of like, customer service that's probably not even in America in the first place. Be like, oh, sorry, put you on hold for 3 hours, talk to this person. Like they're trying to psychologically abuse you to make you give up, which is crazy. This is why, not to show for Amazon, but like Amazon has great customer service. Like they're easy to talk to. They don't ask that many questions. They give you stuff because they know you're spending money. Like Amazon's one of the only companies that has good customer service. Take it for what it is. I'm not saying they're to be trusted or whatever, but like that's just the truth. Like they're the only company I probably dealt with in the last 2 years that made things pleasant and easy. And then they continue to get my business. But in general, it's like these things are not going to shift from a tweet or being mad at a politician. It's like this is a deep-seated cultural issue, which is why I wanted to talk about the H1-B thing, because I think these things are so integrated. And who the Republican Party is in 4 years, it matters what we do in the culture we build, because they'll become that in 4 years. But if people get stuck, then they'll get stuck. As far as now, I don't know. I think Trump is being the leader of the moment. And I think that he's just so much better than Biden. Like I'm so glad I voted for him, and I'm so glad he won, because it's like, this is real leadership. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's infallible. I'm not saying he doesn't do what his donors want him to do a lot of the times. I'm just saying like, you're lying to yourself if you don't see the difference between Trump and Biden. Like you can have all the opinions about the donors and the foreign wars that are valid, but if you're going to act like immigration then also doesn't matter, like I don't agree. We can have a complex debate about it, but like I don't agree. I think everything matters in their own way, and they all need to be addressed. I don't just focus on one thing. I think he's a better leader. I think he's the adult in the room. I think he's like the real man that actually represents the country, who could talk to leaders. And even with his programs, if Biden does an AI program, nobody even talks about it. It's just like, oh, that sucks. We're going to oppose it. But there's really, like when Trump does it, everything's a spectacle. Everything's a show. But that's better than like not having enough people on it. He's, that's what I think so far. It's only been a week, but I'm not like, my expectations were low. And I think so far it's like, it's been good. I'll read some comments and then I'm going to move on. Someone said, I wish people could think in this matter. Some people do and some people don't, but it's like, I've taken stances with certain things, and like you shed certain people. Like vibe attracts your tribe. So it's like when I opposed Trump in 2019, a lot of people got mad. When I, said I was voting for him, other people got mad. Like there's certain people that are just emotional, childish, angry, nasty people. And they think they have such big egos that they think they're smarter than they are. And they think that their activism makes them a pleasant person. And it's like, that like, these are people I don't need around. Like I could say what I'm saying. I need to focus on myself. If I'm doing the best that I can do, then that's good. I can't allow other outside forces, because you have to understand, like at my level, and I'm not even on like the highest level of what I'm doing, there's pressure from everywhere. You have pressure from the media. You have pressure from Zionist journalists. You have pressure from Twitter. You have pressure from liberals. You have pressure from conservatives. Like everybody wants you to be who they are, and the pressure comes super heavy. I've never caved to pressure, not once. I'm not caving for a journalist. I'm not caving for a deep state shill. I'm not caving for Trump donors. I'm not caving for angry, nasty, egotistical online users that think that they're truthers because they're not that smart anyway. It's like, I don't, like it's, if you can make sense, then I'll do it. But it's like most of the time these people are not, they're not that impressive. So, everything will happen for people as it should. Someone said narcissism is rampant on YouTube. Well, I think in order to do a YouTube video, you're talking to yourself. So I hope I don't come off narcissistic, but it's like you're talking to yourself and 1,000 people are listening. Like you're not, there's no real dialogue and nobody can really push back because it's just yourself. So I think it makes it hard to be like super humble or great, or like, you understand what I'm saying? It's like, if there's 3 people talking to me in a room, my energy is going to be different because there's like people there. When I'm just talking to myself, it's like, I got to just keep going. But in general, I think also in the comments, like, everybody, like I've known people like this in my real life, like everybody, not everybody, but like 20% of the population, they think they're the smartest. So then you get all these people on the comment section. There's a Sebastian Maniscalco stand-up. It's called Aren't You Embarrassed? It's one of my favorite ones. He's talking about, he's like 40 years ago, like the weird guy was just in his parents' basement. Now it's like you give him the internet and he's like, like, you know, like, I'm not saying that's true to everybody, but it's like back in the day, every friend group had the friend that was just like annoying. Now all of those people are on Twitter, and so are all the smart people and the funny people and the dumb people. It is what it is. It's just a big, you know, collaboration of everybody. And sometimes the loudest people are going to be the most annoying. I get stopped in person a lot. And every time I get stopped in person, for the most part, people are very like cool. And just like I see their life, and like sometimes they're with their family. These are not the people yelling on YouTube the loudest. I'm not knocking YouTube. I like you guys. I'm just saying, like, you know, like if you reach millions of people, the top 20 voices you hear the most are not always going to be, you know, like the chillest people. Someone said you come off as truthful and balanced in your opinions. I appreciate it. I mean, one thing I've always tried to do with my show, I don't play this game of like, I got secret intel from my friend who says he works for Trump's Secret Service. Like, it's like, all right, yeah, trust the plan. Cool. I don't do that. You know, these people, I'm not knocking all of them, but like the people that do that, they're actually really not that smart or connected. It's like this mysterious thing they have going on. They're like, people trust me because I'm confident and I'm mysterious. With me, I've always been very transparent. I'll do a video. I'll show you why I'm saying this. Like, I'm not making a show for people to just believe what I'm saying. I'm trying to explain what I'm saying so you understand it as well, or show you what I'm talking about. When I talked about ethnicity and everything, it's like, it's hard to not agree because I'm right, but also I'm showing you the steps, and I'm not a hateful person. Like I like people from every group, but you have to understand this open society, like everyone's going to be the same, then everything is the same. There is no diversity. This is the biggest trick in the world that goes with both parties because they both play a role, where they'll convince you that diversity is the way to be great to all people. But their version of diversity is the opposite of diversity. Real diversity is every country has a unique culture, identity, history, artifacts, language. That's diversity. If every country does the same exact thing and melts into a melting pot that's the same, then there's no diversity. There's no Europe. There's no America. Asia's not playing that stuff. And there's something we could learn from Asian culture, right? Japanese people, they care about their race, but nobody calls them racist. Do you know why? Because they're smart and they're nice. You know what I'm saying? They're not out here just like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, then you look like you're a bigot. I don't give a shit what you look like, because I'm not someone that's going to be like, oh, you're hurting my feelings. I'm just being honest. Like, I come across nice because I am nice. I come across truthful because I am truthful. If you're a dick, it doesn't matter if you're right about you know, you make it sound douchey. Like, it is what it is. But like, you don't see Japanese people posting on Twitter being like, fuck you guys, we're the best. Like, they just do it. You know, they're like, we like our culture. We're not changing. You can come here. We're going to do it strongly, but silently, strongly, but kindly. That, you know, it's smart. It's smart what they're doing. White people in the West, not so smart. It's like a combination of being like weak and a combination of just like, then it's like you're either weak or you're like yelling about it, you know, and then both sides just annoy people. So, and I'm not saying all white people, I like the West, but it's like, you know, Ireland, like some guy is yelling at me. He's like, you're Middle Eastern. You probably want Ireland to be Irish or Middle Eastern. I'm not Middle Eastern, but I could fit in the Middle East for sure. Habibi, chill. No, but in general, it's like, I want Ireland to be Irish. But here's the thing. It's like, why isn't it? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are people there so weak? Why are they caving so much? Like, what do they not understand? Why did, like, you know, I don't live there, so I can't tell you all the problems, but living in America, I could guess the problems. The left went insane and the right is too weak. You know, like the right that everybody's cool with is weak, you know? So it's like when the whole culture shifts that way, it's got to shift the other way. And when I say right, obviously there's left and right, but like there's also right and wrong. Like, I want to be right, not necessarily right wing. If it falls there, then whatever, but it's like right. There's nuance, but then there's also right and wrong. There's also true and false. So it's like there is nuance to these situations, but there's a when it comes to America, this is the side that has no representation. It's either the left perverting everything, or it's the right saying we don't notice everything. I do notice things, right? If I go to a city and it's dirty, I notice. If I go to a city and the crime rate's high, I notice, right? If I go somewhere and the customer services, I notice. I don't think everything's the same. And I think that there are certain patterns that exist and they're worth, talking about. I'll give you an example. Like America does really good in the Olympics because we take a lot of people from all over the world. So we do take a lot of the best athletes from everywhere. China does really good in the Olympics. Maybe they're athletic. Maybe they, train their people. Like I don't know the reason. Maybe they have good genetics, but like China does good in the Olympics. India does not do good in the Olympics, even though they have over 1 billion people. I haven't really investigated, but like, let's just be honest. Why is America with 300 million people and China, an ethno-state essentially with like 1 billion people, why are they crushing India in sports? Maybe if someone here lives in India, maybe you know why. I don't know why, but it's like, that's true. So like, let's just say with sports, if half the country's Indian, we're going to be better athletes. Like we'll be better at cricket, Indian people crush at cricket, but like not at other sports, and why is that? But how do you get to the why? If you can't, someone said you're bound to have stellar athletes along 1.5 billion. Yeah, but India has over 1 billion people. Why are they not better at the Olympics? I don't know. This is not a knock. Indian people are good at other things. I'm just saying, like, why? They make great. They do really well in America. The ones that come to America absolutely crush economically, and they seem to not commit a lot of crime. I'm just being honest. Like that's how I see it statistically. But how could you even get to why things are happening if you can't even talk about them? Like people will be like, this happens and then it's going to get this way. It's not going to get that way, but why? Why are the crime rates so high in certain cities? Why is the crime rate so low in Tokyo? It's not the amount of people in Los Angeles. It's got to be something else. Is it the culture? Is it trends? Is it weak prosecution? Is it a little bit of all the things? Is there something else? And like, nobody wants to talk about this stuff because it's like it's complex and it seems edgy. I don't care because I know I'm a good person. I know I'm a nice person. And I feel comfortable talking about it because if I actually hated people, it would be hard for me to talk about because it would come across how I felt. I don't, though. I like people from every place, and I judge people individually, personally. I don't run America. It's not my job to sit and judge people like shit because you're from somewhere else. I don't do that. But I could separate the macro from the micro. There's a lot of things that I don't do because I'm not in charge of everybody else. If I was in charge of everybody else, I'd have to live a different lifestyle. So it's like micro, I judge people based on the content of their character. Macro, sorry, these things matter. If you just import people from all over the place, these things matter. And the left talks about it wrong. The right doesn't talk about it at all. That's all changing though. And with the X conversation, Vivek and Elon, they weren't ready for that wave of knowledgeable people who know what they're talking about. It's like they didn't even expect that. They're both billionaires. And, when you have a lot of money, it's easy to isolate yourself from these situations or not see it. But like, I want America to be great again. Like to me, America great. And this is Sam Hyde put it really funny, but honestly said, I don't want to see numbers going up on a screen. Like, oh, our stocks are going up. Of course, I want the stocks to go up, like everybody that owns a stock. But at the same time, a stock going up doesn't make a city safe. So if the stocks are going up, but Philadelphia still sucks, that's a problem. It's got the Liberty Bell. How did they build the Liberty Bell and all this beautiful architecture? And now it's like, a crime zone. When I was in high school, I went to Philadelphia for the first time because I was going to a drum and bass show because, everybody knows Anomaly's ahead of the trend. So I was, I'm not trying to be a hipster with it, but I was listening to EDM before people even knew what EDM was. I'm just saying. But in general, I'm serious though, but it is kind of funny. But not anybody. Anyway, we went to a drum and bass show in Philly and my friend's car got broken into. Like we had to drive home with a broken windshield. That was my first time in Philadelphia, 2007 or 2008. That was when it was good. I can't imagine what Philadelphia is like now, but I'm not trying to find out. It's like, I've heard it's profoundly worse than it used to be when I went. And that's how bad it was then. What's it like now? Why? Can we not make cities good? Is that America? Are we just giving up on our cities? Imagine if like Japan was like, Tokyo is a crime-filled shithole. But that's just the way it is because that's our biggest, greatest city. No, New York City should be awesome. Los Angeles should be awesome. Chicago should be awesome. And Philadelphia should be awesome. And if it's not, we failed as a nation. And all you need to do is go to any capital city in America and you could see what these scumbag politicians are doing and what the mindless people are allowing them to do. Go to Washington, D.C. I didn't like Washington, D.C. I got invited to the White House in 2018. I stayed at the Trump Tower because I didn't trust anything else. I was wildly unimpressed with, I was like, this is where the White House? How could you not even keep a city clean and nice outside the White House? Like, that's embarrassing. You go to California, Sacramento kind of sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went in Orange County. I went to Santa Ana, the city hall. It's like the worst part of Santa Ana. It's like there's crap homeless everywhere. It's like, why is like Sebastian Maniscalco said, aren't you embarrassed? Aren't we embarrassed? I'm embarrassed. Oh, Tokyo sucks, and every city in in Japan sucks, but that's just the way it is. But we're gonna make America great again by making a number go up on a computer for the stock market. That's not true greatness. True greatness is incentivizing and rewarding people for being great. In this country, everybody gets rewarded by being a scam. They're like, oh, if we build everything really cheap, then we'll make an extra 5 million. Yeah, and then you built everything cheap. Oh, if we do insurance this way and we don't pay out, then we'll make $1 trillion. It's like, fuck you. Like, have you no shame? If we use seed oils in the cheapest chicken possible, we could, we could make a couple $1 billion net profit. Or you could feed people real food and then we'll not be fat and disease ridden. You ever fucking think of that? Like, I'm so tired of everybody. But it is what it is. Like, I'm not going to just sit and bitch about it all the time, but maybe I will. I could. It's probably not the smartest thing I could do, but I could literally sit here and bitch about America for the next year and pay my bills. Lucky me, or hardworking me. I don't know, whichever way you look at it. But I'm not going to. Someone said, I was born in the USA, but I'm not a U.S. citizen. What am I? I don't know. Are you an anchor baby? I'm just kidding. I have no idea. Are you, I don't know. Are you a free spirit? You doing ayahuasca in the mountains or something? I don't know what you are. Is this a riddle? Are you the Riddler? We got the Riddler here on YouTube, guys. He's like, I was born here, but I have no citizenship. What am I? An illegal immigrant. Somebody call Trump and Tom Homan. Get him out. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Someone said, thank God Anomaly doesn't wear an eye patch. It would be hard to take him serious. Well, I don't think everybody who wears an eye patch wants to, so I wouldn't really shame people for that, but I don't know. Someone said, get your bag, Anomaly. I won't blame you. What's up, DD? I'm trying to get my bag, but ethically. I definitely have plans to do things better this year, but it's got to be ethic and moral, or else, it's not worth it. And there's ways to do it. In my opinion, especially if you don't have a big conglomerate where you're like emboldened or like tied to stockholders, people want good stuff. Like, if you could make a restaurant with no seed oil, you're making $1 million. Like, everybody's going to go there. Like, half the country wants no seed oils and like one place does it. So I think there's a lot of money. It's just hard to scale. It's hard to scale and go public, but everybody doesn't need to go public on the stock market. So hopefully some inspiration for Americans. Do things right and better, and hopefully, you make a lot of money. I don't know. Someone said, if you were born here and your parents are illegal aliens, then you are illegal. I don't get what you're doing. The Riddler's confusing me. But someone said, Trump and Gates are buddies. I've pointed that out. I don't think, maybe you can, but I don't think you could name another journalist who's done more reports on the relationship between Donald Trump and Bill Gates. I've done it. What do you want me to do? Sit here and cry about it all the time? I tweeted it. I made videos. I've gotten millions of views. I've documented the Trump-Gates relationship since the beginning. I documented that Trump offered him a job in 2019. I documented that he basically told Trump to do the universal flu vaccine. Nobody wants to cover it. I'm sure people like Whitney Webb covered stuff like that, but like in mainstream Republican politics, nobody covers it. I don't, I've done all that stuff, but it's like, what are people going to bitch at me now? Like, I'm the Oh, I'm mad at you. Like, what do you want me to be, a miserable, just sit here? And yeah, I've done everything I could do on that front. If people care about it, that's on them. And if they don't, what am I going to do? I've documented that more thoroughly and more accurately than probably anyone. And Whitney Webb has probably done different sides of that story. I've done their pharmaceutical universal flu vaccine, Operation Warp Speed side of it. Someone said, damn, Anomaly, you sure had a shit ton pent up, and I guarantee that you still got a shit more to do. Well, I moved, so I'll just let you guys know. I mean, I went home for Christmas to spend time with my family. Then I moved, and I basically had to get like all new furniture. So it's been like weeks of getting furniture, deliveries. Also, I'm having a sound issue. I didn't want to bore you with this at the beginning, but I'm having sound issues because I got a spot to build a studio, and I really want to do it right and invest in like a better setup than I had last time to some extent. I mean, I don't have to do that much more, but I do want to invest in a better setup and have more space. I just filmed out of my living room last time, but I'm having some massive sound issues at this place because there's just really loud heating and stuff like that. So I got to figure it out. I might have to move again. I don't want to, but I've been experiencing a lot of bad issues and annoying management. So, it's not only have I been moving stuff, but I've been slower on building my studio because I'm not sure if I'm even going to build it at this place or I'm going to go somewhere else. So it is what it is, but I'm grateful that I could take this much time off and not go bankrupt. And for those wondering, like I posted on Facebook, I posted on Twitter, I reached probably 100 million people in the last month, and I'm able to make money doing that. Just I don't need to tell people that, but it's like I can not make videos and still make money. So I'm not trying to do that forever, but it is nice to not have to just destroy my savings and stuff like that. So it is what it is. And the sound foam, yeah, I'm gonna do the sound foam. I don't want to get into specifics, but it's like it's shaking from multiple sides. So it's not just like a sound from a heater. The walls are really vibrating. So it's something that sound foam will not fix. But we'll see. There's certain things that they're going to do to try to stop some of the vibration. And if they could stop the vibration, then I could soundproof the room. But if they can't stop the vibration, it's going to be too much of a hindrance to want to stay here. So it's been really annoying, to be honest. I'm being very calm now, but I've been pretty pissed off all month, but whatever. The building a studio is not hard. It's if your walls are rattling and vibrating and there's issues with above you and stuff, that's the problem. So I'm not oblivious of how to soundproof a room, but some rooms are not really soundproofable if there's issues further than that, but we'll see. So I said, I'd love to see you collaborate with Peggy Hall. I met her. We went to some sort of event in Orange County, and I met Peggy Hall. She seems like a very lovely lady, and we had a great chat. As far as working with her, I think I've streamed with her one time on Instagram, but I like Peggy a lot. I haven't followed what she's been doing, but if she ever hit me up, I'd be happy to work with her or talk to her. Talk about Stargate. I mentioned it earlier. I have to do more research. Like I really have to look into what it is, where the money's coming from. But I don't trust Larry Ellison. I don't trust Sam Altman. I don't trust any of these people. So, I'm not a fan of it on the outside of it. But I haven't really dove into it. But I mentioned earlier, AI vaccines only work as good as the AI is programmed. So if you're not programming it, if Big Pharma gets to program the technology, then it's going to be a train wreck. So I don't care how great the technology is. I know how AI works. It depends how they program it. They're not going to program it. Someone said you trust Elon. No, you could watch every live stream of the last 2 years. I liked Elon. Now I don't really like him as much. I don't hate him, but I really liked him. But I always said on my show, I don't trust him. So I could like someone without trusting him. And that's what I did for Elon. Now I'm like, nah, and I don't trust him. So I don't really trust. I trust like a few people in my family. That's about it. I have friends that I trust to some extent. I don't trust Donald Trump. I don't trust Elon Musk. This is not how I operate. Like I've never met Elon Musk. He moves his arms weird, I don't trust him, but thank you, Kristalina. Someone said maybe let's see. Someone said mRNA isn't good, period. Well, here's the obvious thing that probably most people listening to this know, but since it's my podcast, I should probably say it. The first step to health is why, let's just talk about, we didn't have artificial intelligence vaccines in 1950. Why were there less chronic illness? Why was there less cancer? Why were people less fat? They weren't less fat and they didn't have less diseases back in the day because they had AI vaccines. So nobody with a brain should trust these freaks, these freaky freaks, to make our health better. Larry Ellison, Sam Altman, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, if it like address those issues. We voted for Make America Healthy Again, not these AI freaks to tell us that they're going to make us healthier with an AI vaccine. Get back to the base level of health that we had 50 years ago with no artificial intelligence, and then we could talk about AI medicine. But if you freaks can't even get us back to the health that we had 50 years ago and the diseases that didn't exist or weren't rampant, then you guys are just sick freaks. And I'll call you a freak 100 times and I don't care what happens. So it's like that. That's the common sense that, you know, I'll say because it's my show, but I don't even need to say. And the same thing with, you know, COVID. It's like, we're going to lock down. If you could mandate a lockdown, you could mandate a workout. I'm not an authoritarian, but if you become an authoritarian to lock the world down, then you should mandate workouts so everybody stays healthy. Like it's a, you know, recess. If you mandate a lockdown and mandate vaccines, but you don't mandate workout routines, you're lying. Like, and this is my issue that I run into is like, am I that smarter than everybody else? Are you that smarter than everybody else? Like, I don't think this is rocket science. I wish I really liked myself that much where I'm like, I'm so smart. To me, this is like, you could tell a second grader and they should be able to know this. So why is like 90% of the population missing all this shit? And we're the only ones who can figure it out. Like you couldn't figure out. How did I figure it out? I dropped out of college. Okay. I'm not stupid. I read, I'm intelligent, but it's like, I'm not like, I don't have a triple PhD in freaking science to realize if you can mandate a lockdown and you can mandate vaccines, you could mandate a workout to balance it out. And if you don't do that, then you're hurting people's health. Like that was like a fringe opinion. It's like, oh, you're just crazy. It's like, no, you're an idiot. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, this stuff is so basic to me, but nobody gets it. So the country just continues to get screwed because nobody understands like basic common sense. Like, well, I guess I'll wear this mask because I mean, it's like, do you have no testosterone running through your body? Are you literally like depleted of any like minerals that you're like, yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal that I have to wear a face mask in the supermarket for 2 years. Literally, if 10% of the men did what I did, it would have been over. I literally like stood in the supermarket like, no. No. What are you going to do? You know what they did? They got so scared they tried to give me $50 of groceries for free. And I gave them $60 and said, keep the change because I'm a man. But in general, I could have got that was my punishment for being the only man in the entire Gelson's with testosterone. This was 2 years after the lockdown, keep in mind, in Orange County, after Gavin Newsom said he was going to bring it back. I'm like, you guys are freaking out of your mind. Yeah, oh, I got in so much trouble. No, they tried to give me the food for free. They said, just take it. Just get out of here. No, I'm not a thief. Here's money. Here's a tip. You should be embarrassed. Like, why? I don't get it. You know, I don't get what people are doing. But let's see. Someone said no pharma since 1995 and zero illness since then. Well, congrats. Let's see. You nailed it. I'm a 66-year-old woman, and I was taught your word is your bond. I've been ripped off by various businesses, large and small. It's a built-in practice. Dishonesty costs money. Here's my pet peeve too. God bless you, Cynthia. It's like they lie to your face, then they email you or do something to the side to be like, look, we emailed you that. I'm like, but you lied to my face. Like, I can't even get certain people to talk to my face. They're like, just email me. I don't want to email you. Emailing you for 3 weeks, I could solve this problem in 5 minutes, face to face, or a phone conversation. It's like it's so passive aggressive. This whole society is like scammy now. They just email us and we'll lie to you. It's like, or we can have a real human conversation where your word actually means something, and then we could solve the issue. But it's whatever. RFK Jr. thoughts? I mean, for all intensive purposes of what he's supposed to do in this administration, I hope he gets confirmed. I think him at HHS is a huge W. And if he doesn't get confirmed, I'm going to be upset or annoyed. Someone said it's a uniparty, the elites. I hear it, but it's like people allow this to happen. That's why I'm so interested in the culture, because it's like when the culture shifts, this a lot of this stuff will change. But it's like you could cry about the elites, but if 95% of people are following along, like why are Japanese people not falling for it, but Irish people are falling for it? Like, what's wrong with the West? What's wrong with white countries that everybody falls for this stuff and feels pathetic, but like other countries are like, no, we're not doing that. You know, I'm not saying, obviously there's propaganda, obviously there's lies, etc. But there's something else going on. You know what I want to say too, since I've already said so much controversial stuff, I want to dig my hole deeper, and maybe I'll find some treasure there. It's our feminist culture in America too. It's like women are running everything now. It's like women are this, women are that. It's like, oh, but we're a free nation. It's like, once again, this is not how America was for hundreds of years. They said, oh, let's let the women work in the factories, and then while the guys are at war, just so we can keep our economy afloat. Okay, sure. There's a lot. I love women. They're awesome. They do a lot of great stuff, intelligent, smart, can do a lot of stuff. But a lot of the reason this works in the West is because if you look at other cultures, it's like they don't have this like super feminist culture. They're not like, oh, let's let a bunch of lesbian firefighters run Los Angeles. It's like, no. So I feel like that maybe that's one of the reasons too, that the West, like the men are weak and they're like, I don't see a problem with it. My wife does this and that and this and that. It's like, all right, dude, I'm not going to sit and judge you, because it's my job to create my own family. So I'm not going to sit and like judge other people. But at the same time, it's like men are so like drained of testosterone, and then the women are like running everything, and they're like, I don't see a problem with it. My wife is a strong, independent woman. All right, bro, whatever. I get it. But I don't know why does Japan and China and Asia and the Middle East and even most of Africa to some extent, although they have their own problems as well, like why are they like, why are they not like, let's just import people from all over and change our nation? It's only like, I think a lot of it is like, it's not to blame women, but I'm just saying like women, it's like, look at voting patterns. Like women vote for the Democratic Party. At this point in 2024, like it should be obvious on a million different ways why Republicans are better than Democrats at bare minimum equal. Like, but yeah, people just still vote for Democrats. What is it? Emotional? Is it, like just too much power, where it's like I said, like freedom. Yeah, it's amazing. That's awesome. But discipline, men and women need discipline. So it's like, if a woman's like, I'm free, I can do this, I can do that, I can vote for Kamala, I can do that. It's like, sure, I can be the fire chief, I can do this, I don't have to save you because I'm not strong enough, but that's okay because it's your fault because I'm a woman. Okay, but now our society's falling apart. And I always blame men for the women problems because I think the man is always more to blame. But in general, I'm just trying to figure out, like, why do some cultures, like, they see right through this, but like the West is just like, yeah, of course there's propaganda, but there's propaganda all over the world. Of course there's, the elites, but there's elites all over the world. Like, why the West? Why, and why are they playing this game? It's like with the COVID stuff, like Africa was like, no. And then like Asia is like, yes. Like Asian people are intelligent, but they're also more obedient to their government. So it's like it's crazy in those nations to like stand, like, you don't want to be a rebel. America's way more rebellious. So you had states like, no, we're not doing that, because America was built on rebellion and, the first two amendments. But like Asian culture is not built on that. So they're like, oh, we're going to wear the mask, we're going to listen, There's differences in culture and ethnic trends that make certain things happen, but where it's worth talking about to try to figure it out. Brandon said, I know this is random, but how did you find your niche and how were you able to hone in on it? Are you talking about my hats, or are you talking about in general? I'll tell you, I only rapped and did hip hop, and then I ended up finding my niche in whatever I'm doing now, because I just got so annoyed at the news and I got so into like activism where I was like, I want to be a better, version of whatever this is. So to be honest, I did it by mistake, but I did it by following my soul. So I don't know if that helps, but with the God Bless merchandise, I was trying to think of what to do. And, I probably should have more name stuff like Anomaly or Dream Rare, but I just felt like God Bless was like, when I thought of the idea with the exclamation point and stuff, I just thought it was such a better idea, because I was like, if it's Anomaly or Dream Rare, that's cool, but it promotes me. But like, I was like, God Bless is universal. Like there's multiple religions that believe in God. It's basically like a statement, but it's a statement that's not so in your face like the MAGA hats. I think now MAGA hats are fine, but like when they first came out, people like it was a statement that like freaked people out. Not that it should have, but I'm not a very confrontational person. Like I'm not trying to wear like an InfoWars shirt. Like I don't get the vaccine. Like that's not my style, but I do like when I see people wearing them. I think it's funny, but my style is more low key. I'm not trying to like fight with random people over a statement. So it just hit me. I don't randomly. And I was like, oh, this is a good idea. It promotes God. It's universal to an extent. It goes across multiple religions. Not that I was like, that was my idea, but when I thought of it, I was like, oh, it's open-minded where it's like, it's not creating a debate off the jump. It's just like a chill message. And to be honest, like, this is like my favorite merch. I get compliments all the time. Like the nicest people always say like, oh my gosh, I love this hat. I love your sweatshirt all the time. And I always go, oh, I make them. They go, really? Oh my gosh, I love that. So I feel like I could scale this business more than I do. I gotta like, first of all, I got to get my studio built and then like get some help and stuff. But yeah, I'm going to take off, guys. I'll be back soon. I have a lot to say, but I think this is good for today. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. I'll make it work. I apologize for the delay, but the last 2 years, I'll just tell you guys this too, if for those who care, the last 2 years, like I felt like I was just running in circles, trying to keep up with algorithms and doing it all myself. I wanted to move for multiple reasons, but I was going to take time off, even if I can get the sound right, because, I don't know, like you're just doing it because you're doing it. I wanted to take a step back and just come back stronger and better and just like more professional. So that's still my goal. I plan to get started soon. And now that I have at least this set up, I can do these whenever I want now, just like with this background, which is fine. But like sometimes like I never wanted to take a break, not just like lose money and stuff, but like, I don't know. I just like what I do. And I didn't want to like miss a beat. But it's been nice not doing it because it's like, it's been very, therapeutic in some ways. Cause it's like when you have to do the news every day or every other day, you just think about it constantly. Cause like, I don't have a team. So in order to make my show, I'm mentally building the material all day. Like when I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking about it in the shower. I'm thinking about it when I get up. I'm thinking about it. I record it. I edit it. I put it on Instagram. Then I do a show. I prepare it. It's exhausting. Like I literally fall asleep after I do it every time. And I'm not trying to cry. It's like, honestly, there's people who have harder jobs and I've had harder jobs. So I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying like, I just felt like I was in a loop. So I was like, I'm going to break it. I'm going to move. I'm going to get, different, more room, more space, try to build a studio instead of work out of my living room. And also just like try to piece things together where it's like work smarter, not harder. Cause also too, what I noticed, when you talk about the news all the time, people like they think you need to say everything all the time. Like when I'm doing it all the time, people kind of like take advantage of it where it's like, do this, Trump did this. It's like, bro, I'm a human being too. I have a life. Like I'm not, yeah, of course I do the news, but it's like people got so used to me talking about everything all the time that it's like when I didn't, I was just getting attacked. It's like, you're a shill, you're this, you didn't talk about. What if I didn't talk for a month? Like, why do I have to say everything? Of course, when I go live, I'm responsible for what I say and I should be honest. But it's like, I don't know how I got in this position of like the guy who needs to talk about everything all the time. Like, I don't want to be that. So, and I didn't like the way people were treating me. So it's like, I'm still going to do this stuff, but I really took a break to build, focus on myself, get a nice environment to live in. And really like, I really want to go hard this year because outside of I would say the culture shift, I do feel like it's a huge industry now. Like what was once fringe and activism and literally like not even a job. The first 3 years I did it, I never even knew you could make money. Like I didn't mean to do this. It just became a thing. And then like they started paying you and I was like, oh shit, this is like a real thing. But in general, it's like now it's like a real thing. So, on a business side, I'm never going to sell out, but I would be foolish to not capitalize this year because it's like now everybody's conservative. Stephen A. Smith wants to get the money. It's like, all right, bro, like you can get your money, Stephen A. Smith, but like no, you shouldn't be the voice of the people. Like, like I'm not really interested in like you telling me what to think about current events because I don't trust you. So, I built this, I put in the work. I'm really trying to capitalize business-wise this year too, because it feels like the next 4 years are going to be booming. And, I'm considered like an OG at this point, like not the oldest, but people were like, dang, you've been at it for a while. It's like, yeah, because I did it when it wasn't a job. Like that's the difference. Other people, it's like, oh shit, I could do this, or, it's fine, but I'm definitely working hard. Someone said not going to happen. I don't know what you said, what's not going to happen, but thanks for your positivity. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless the world. I'll be back soon. And if you want one of these hats, they're at dreamrare.com as always. And you'll see. I'll be here with lots of stuff soon. Have a good day. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk. For $5 a month, you can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com. So check the links below in the description, or just type in on any browser, stayintouchwithme.com, all one word. You'll find my email list, put it in there, and it's the least annoying email list you'll ever be on. I barely use it because I don't like getting emailed every day or every week. It's annoying, so I don't do it. Stayintouchwithme.com. It helps me take back some power away from big tech. Telegram, t.me/dreamrarechat or @dreamrarechat. Due to censorship, I post all my live stream and videos there. Sometimes I have some bonus content, and I try to give people a heads up when Facebook or YouTube won't. Dreamrare Chat at Telegram. My Instagram is @dreamrare. Thanks for everybody following there for shorter content. And dreamrarelinks.com, that's dreamrarelinks.com, has all my stuff. My podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, my music on Spotify and Apple, my Rumble page, my BitChute and Gab page. All my links are found at dreamrarelinks.com. Thanks for watching, folks. God bless you. You already know I'll be back with